Mark 9:38 through 41. "Teacher," said John, "we saw someone driving out demons in your name, and we told him to stop because he was not one of us." "Do not stop him," Jesus said, "for no one who does a miracle in my name can in the next moment say anything bad about me. For whoever is not against us is for us. Truly I tell you, anyone who gives you a cup of water in my name because you belong to the Messiah will certainly not lose their reward." Welcome to the Neighborhood Church Revive podcast. We're so glad that you're joining us today as we unpack big ideas about God's Word together. My name is Shawn Thomas, and I'm an associate campus pastor here at Neighborhood Church, and we believe that God's Word is relevant and helpful even for today, which is why we take time to unpack what it says right here on this podcast. Today's a special day. I'm being joined by Lance Peterson.
Hi, I'm Lance Peterson. I'm the head of our global outreach team at Neighborhood Church. Been doing that for several years. I'm looking forward to sharing with Shawn about what we're doing.
Yeah. And Lance, you're an elder here at the church.
Yes, I am an elder. Was an elder for a while. Was off the team for a while, and then back on. So Mike's view is once an elder, always an elder. So
yeah.
Pretty much anywhere you serve, you're committed for lifetime. So
that's right. Yeah, we don't give you guys tattoos or anything like that, but yeah. You're in the system, and you're usually at the Cypress campus. Is that
yes?
Nice?
Yeah, I've been at the Los Al campus a few times just because we've been talking about missions the last few weeks, and had a chance to share with that, interview some people, and. So it's I know a lot of the people at the Los Al campus when they came here, so that was fun to see them for a while.
Yeah, and Lance and we had met a long time ago when I first started serving. I think like 2015, 16.
Yes, I remember. When you came and did a picture at the church.
Yeah, I did like a painting.
Yeah, so we met you then. So it's been a while.
And I've the Petersons, Lance and his wife Susan have felt a special connection because of missions. I have a heart for missions, and I love hearing how you guys are sending folks, coordinating folks. So we wanted, for those of you listening, it struck me that missions is, especially as we're coming out of COVID, lockdowns, pandemic, where travel was very restricted, maybe more than any time I can remember, probably since 9/11, for the last 20, 25 years or so. And so in my mind, as we've been talking about missionaries who have persevered through the lockdowns the past couple of years, getting ready to go back out, it seems to me that maybe some of you listening might be interested. Wow, I want to get out, or God's calling me to something deeper, something that might be a little out of my comfort zone and frankly maybe a little scary. Yeah. But that's why I wanted Lance here to kind of maybe talk directly to those of us who are maybe feeling a bit of a tug of war, because there's some people who feel like I'm meant to support missionaries. I have a mission field here in my neighborhood, and that's great. We affirm that. But there's also a whole world out there that we can be involved in. Yeah. So Lance, tell me a little bit about on March 6th, we did Missions Week. Can you unpack just a little bit about what that was about? Yeah,
it's interesting. Previously, over the years before COVID, we would invite missionaries to come for the weekend. We would have a dinner for them and do some stuff during the weekend. And it was we tried to make it a special time for them and support them. It's very difficult, even up till now. It's just there's a lot of people still not traveling. I think that'll change next year. I'm hoping next year will be a little bigger. But this year we were able to have two missionaries come and share with us on that weekend, and another one the next weekend. Yeah. So the Williams from our Ecuador mission, and also the Shooks, who have been in Mongolia, North Korea, and now are back home working with refugees here. We got to hear from them and talk about what's going on with their missions.
And just hearing Mongolia, North Korea, that's wow. How... And I guess first, before I ask maybe the specifics for the missions that they're doing in Ecuador and elsewhere for the Williams and the Shooks, how did we get in contact with them? Were they members of Neighborhood Church and then went on the field, or did we get connected?
It's interesting. When a lot of our missionaries we've had for years were either attenders here or had close contact through the EV Free Evangelical Free Church. So we picked them up the Shooks were one that we knew through EV Free and through other churches. They had some contacts here, and we've been supporting them for longer than I've been going to church, more than 20 years.
Wow.
But the Williams was a different case, a very interesting case, because we were looking for a short-term mission trip to go on for the high school group.
Oh.
And Chet and Katie Williams work with a group called Youth World, and their primary job was to host short-term teams. So it was having people come into Ecuador, see the different missions that were going on there. We got, they did different things. So we signed up for it. It was very interesting because my son was in the high school group, and he wanted to go, but my wife said, well, I want to go too. So she heard that they might go into the jungle, and that excited her. So then my other two sons went along, so I felt like if I didn't go, I'd miss out on something. I didn't want everybody having this experience I didn't. So I had never gone on a short-term mission trip before, so it really changed my thinking when I got to go on it. So anyway, we went with the Williams. We didn't have any association other than the fact that they did this project for us, and we just fell in love with Ecuador. It was like one of those things. We got to see a dump ministry where there's people living in the dump. People are like providing childcare for these people that live off the dump.
Oh man!
There's a young men's ministry that young street kids that have been taken into a home, and we got to spend time with them. But the one place we went that really changed our thinking was we got to fly into a jungle village with the Wadani, and we were there for 3 days, but it really changed our. We really fell in love with that place, and so the next year we got to go back, and we can talk about that later. But it was because we had that relationship with the Williams. There came to a point where they were severing ties with there was just some things going on where the church that was supporting was their sending church was changing, and so we offered to be their sending church, and we were excited about being able to pick them up. So
that's so good. Yeah.
And we've had a lot of people. We've had I think over the years, I think there's been 70 people that have gone on trips. Every year we do 12 to 15 people every year. So over 12, 13 years it's been.
Yeah, I remember back in 2015-16 being kind of a part of those like commissioning services, basically, where we would get everybody on the stage who's going wherever they're going, and it was just really powerful to kind of pray and just get on board with that as a church community, as neighborhood church. Like we, support you guys. We love you guys. We are praying for you guys, and just to commission those groups. That's so powerful. So tell me a little bit about the Shooks. You mentioned Mongolia, North Korea. What's that all about? That sounds intense.
Yeah, well, that was their original heart. They went to Mongolia, and they'd gone, and then they'd come back. And when they'd gone there for a couple of years, and then when they wanted to go back, Cypress church at the time, neighborhood church now, they had come alongside and started supporting them through, like I said, we knew them through other people and stuff, through EV Free Church and through others. So, but they were at Mongolia planting churches there for years. I don't remember all the years, but I think it was about 8 years or so ago that they felt like their time there was done. They were turning it over to people to take over the churches there.
Sure.
So they were looking for different things to do, and they had a heart for just planning churches where people can't hear the gospel. And so North Korea is a pretty extreme example of that. So
totally.
So they got involved. They went. They started training. They opened a business, an exporting business, so they could legally go in there.
As a
you're right,
reason to do business in here, but we're also being Christians,
right?
Yeah.
So they went to Malaysia and they kind of set up things there, started talking to people. Then they lived in China for a couple years, being able to go over the border to North Korea directly. So, but things have changed in China where they really are cracked down on anybody doing anything else. And it was just
China seems like it's getting that way.
Yeah, it was hard too because they felt like they could be endangering people that they're working with. They're adding surveillance and other things to see who came and went, who they're talking to, and so they just felt that they weren't able to really do missions there. So they came back, and then they've been looking for things. They had a heart for refugees, and they had gone over to Lesbos, next to Greece, and there was refugees. So I mean, the refugee thing is huge, and in Europe because of Afghan refugees and African refugees, and so that and because the Commonwealth has kind of opened up their borders to that people can come there and then they can go to other parts in the Union. So it's been really big. But so they got to see some people over there, and in the process of that, they had realized that there was a lot of refugees here in the U.S. also, and so they have felt like their calling is to be working with certain different types of refugees here in the U.S. But because they had formed those relationships before, there was an opportunity. And Justin McElderry,
one of our
team
pastors,
had gone to India a year. They had raised some money for India, and then that shut down because of COVID. Yeah. So they had these funds that they'd already raised, and so they a lot of those team members, most of them are going this year now, going back to the island of Cypress and working with mostly African refugees in Cyprus.
That's so good, yeah.
So I think there's 7 of them going. It's
nice,
a cool thing,
and that'll be this summer, I think, is kind of, or like an exploratory.
Yes, and Mike and Christy are thinking about that. They had wanted to go to Cuba, which we can talk about too, but the timing didn't work out well, so now they're thinking about that. But Mike loves going on the mission field whenever he can. He's just so busy; it's hard for them to get away. So
totally, that's a lot to adjust, just in the church calendar. But it's exciting and it's inspiring to me, hearing these stories about all the and even the different ways. And that was something that I took away from Missions Week 2 the other day, that March 6th, Sunday, was that there is a huge mission fields literally in our backyard in some cases. Whether we are going to other countries, but even in those countries there are refugees, there are immigrants that are needing love and resources and whatever it is. And for those of you listening, I encourage you, if you are interested in missions, even just peripherally, like, is this something? Should I be interested in this? I don't know. If you want to dip your toe in, so to speak, there's plenty of places that Lance, and maybe at the end of the podcast, we can get your email or contact info. If people want to contact you, that would be good. And there's probably resources for refugee organizations or immigrant organizations here locally that people can get plugged into. Yeah. And that could be a way for people to dip their feet into the missions world.
Yeah. Well, actually, the Shooks have a monthly meeting to talk about how to serve the refugees and so on down at Calvary Church in Santa Ana. So,
great.
I'll if we can put that information on the website.
Perfect.
Contacts on it later that you can look that up and go. I think it's on it's the last Monday of the month, I think.
Okay.
But it'll be in the information on there on it.
Sweet. So. Yeah, awesome. So just before we get into some more specifics about what Neighborhood Church is offering this year coming up for missions, just a general question for you, Lance, and just personally, I loved hearing your story about Ecuador, and almost like your family was kind of getting excited. You're kind of like, I don't want to be, the last man out, so you kind of got not roped into it. I don't want to say that, but almost like a surprise trip, so to speak. Why do you feel like missions are important for us as believers? Like, why is that a thing, basically?
Yeah. First of all, the Great Commission, we all are to be missionary. We all are to be sharing our gospel. So that you can definitely, you don't have an excuse if you're at home. You should be sharing it with your neighbors, and we all need to be challenged on that. The case for international missions is different, and there's some people it's been kind of controversial over the years where been like, why are we going over to? We're spending this money. We're going over to another country. We could just send them the money. We could support other ones there, and there is definitely a case of that. And I think it can be short terms can be handled problematically. I think sometimes it can be more the derogatory terms for it is vacationary.
I can see that.
The other term that's more derogatory is pigeonaries, because we fly in and mess all over everything and then fly back out again. So those are...
I can see that too,
So it is a problem. We, at Cypress, we've been very cautious about when we do short-term teams. Our goal is to do it long-term.
Like
Justin, right. So Justin's not going over to, hey, let's go to Greece this year. Next year we'll go to Africa. Next year we'll go here. He's looking to... This is a new thing for us, but he's also looking to form long-term relationship. Ecuador, we've been doing it for 15 years, and we're going to missionaries that we support also. We did the India trip. We go with Tony Rodriguez, who used to be a youth pastor here and a missionary, and so we go with people we have a long-term relationship, because that helps us be more careful about what we're not just. We're going with people we trust. They already have a relationship. We're going to support them. I know when we go to Ecuador, we go just to. We're not going there to be the ones in front sharing everything. We go there to support the locals. The other thing is, like, the argument is that we get more out of going than we give. Well, but can you think of one thing we do as Christians that we don't get more out of than we give?
That's
we, that's just a given. But the other thing is, like, we think, well, it's great for us to go talk to people from a different culture because you get to see God from a different perspective.
Sure, yeah.
But when you think about that, a lot of times the people are going to, they don't have that option. They can't fly here. They can't go anywhere else. So we are also giving them a perspective of God in a way, and it's encouraging them to say, wow, we live really different, but we still believe in the same God. That's one of the most important things we take away from short-term missions. That's huge. And for us now, we've had this relationship with people down there. We go back because we just want to see them again.
You made genuine friends and connections. That's a really beautiful point about it, because I remember as a young kid growing up in a church where we would have the church that I grew up in was a part of a larger denomination that had like a college out of state. But I remember so looking forward to that, and it was just other Americans, but they would come and visit and be a resource and support, and that was such a blessing for us. And that's a really interesting perspective of, like, these are brothers and sisters in Christ who get fed, get blessed, get energized with that connection. And it's that broader perspective of the family of God. And that's awesome. Well, with our last part of our talk, Lance, can you let our audience know what are some opportunities? You kind of mentioned them already that Neighborhood Church is looking at this coming year, maybe in the next year or two, that maybe some of us, maybe I might go, maybe Lance will be there in Ecuador again. Maybe some of you listening might be able to go on.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, well, the Cypress one is interesting. So Justin is going kind of a fact-finding mission. We'll see when he comes back if he feels like that is a good. It's important to, when we go on these trips, a lot of times there's missionaries that they love the Lord, they do a great job, but it's not their gifting to host a short-term team.
Sure.
A lot of them will just do it because it helps bring money into their ministry, and they care about it. And so that's there's nothing wrong with that. But at the same time, for us, we need to be aware that we're going to actually help, because sometimes you go and you're just doing things that's like, why are we doing this? Doesn't make any sense.
What's going on?
So that'll be things that Justin's looking at, and when we approach any new ministry. But I hope that it sounds like it could be a real special time. We will be going to Cuba this year. There is possibility if you hear this and you're interested soon. Let us know. It's an awesome time. I went with it was a real blessing because we went in 2019. I went with Mike, and I also went with our local pastor in Mexico that we support, Martin Castro, and he came along with us. It was a really fun thing to do. I always thought it'd be fun to do to go on a mission team with some other missionaries.
Like a bigger group or perspective.
And they loved him. He spoke Spanish. He's just a wonderful guy, and be praying for him. Martin's got cancer, and so we're just continue to pray. I'd love to have him go back with his Cuba, but I don't know if he's going to be healthy enough to do that. So if you think of it, pray for Martin. But we went. It was the man that we went there. He is kind of supports like all these home churches. In Cuba, you can't have a large church, but they allow you to have home churches up to 10 people. Usually, a lot of times it's more than that, but they don't really count. But it's but really they'll have. So underneath him, he has like 100 home churches that he helps support. They're kind of autonomous, but they share things and get together things. So he is, over the years, has bought property so he can house like maybe about 100 people coming in on short-term teams. And so that not only brings people in to help encourage his people there, but it also helps bring money in and allows them to do different things. So it was a great time. We stayed in had great dormitories. Nice. Air conditioning. I mean, it was not like our trips like where we go to the jungle. It was it was very pleasant.
Nice.
The people are just really warm. I mean, that you can go on a religious visa and it's there. Like I think Bruce shared this weekend, you can share with people the gospel. It's not it's not outlawed, and people are as open to it, maybe more so than here in America. So we did some street evangelism, just talking to neighbors of our churches and stuff. And the great thing is you can do, if you've got some skills, there was a team down there doing a baseball camp.
Oh yeah.
They had like a couple college baseball players. There was another team that was doing VBS. You can do down and doing English as a second language. Everybody there wants to learn English. And so we actually did one night. We went to there was a class that was learning English, and we got to come in and then just speak to them in English for an hour, and we could tell them our testimony and everything.
Oh, that's huge.
So it's a really special time if you're looking for a kind of exciting mission trip that's really not, I mean, it's not scary at all. It's just going in, other than getting through the airport, that's a lot.
I can imagine.
Everything's taken care of. So it's a great trip. So that's Cuba.
Okay.
We will be going to Ecuador next year. This year, my wife and I and son and daughter-in-law are going to go down. Kind of, we've all been there several times. We're kind of going to go back down and see how things are.
Nice. Yeah.
Like every other part of the world, it's had issues with COVID. Because we haven't been there in 2 years, so we're excited to go back and see our friends down there. India, we will probably do again in next year. Like I said, it's really shut down now, but that's another opportunity. So, and then I'm hoping that we'll have opportunities for high school and trips and stuff to especially aim towards them. So
kind of barriers.
Yeah. So we love missions, and we have if you've been going to church, you've heard about Faith Promise. It's a fund that we ask people to give to over and above their tithe, and that goes directly to missions. It helps us continue to support our missionaries. So even when it's kind of a separate budget, so it allows us to support missionaries apart from what our main budget is.
Yeah, that's huge.
And I mean, Neighborhood Church still gives towards that, so it's not like they are not supporting missions, but it also gives us above that. And then also that fund is also used to help support short-term missionaries. So if you're concerned that that it's cost is expensive, we can work things out. I've never had anybody who really wanted to go who wasn't able to get the funds together. So
nice. Well, that brings me to my last question, just on the practical side. Again, for those of listening, I'm sure they might ask, "What do I need?" Probably a passport, maybe shots. Can you give us like a little rundown of, hey, if you want to do a mission trip, great, but you got to turn an application?
Yes. Like? Well, this year especially, you're going to need shots, unfortunately, everywhere we go. I know that's eliminated a couple people who wanted to go to Cuba because they require, most countries are requiring shots to get in. That I think that some of that's going to fade over next year. We'll see. Yeah. But definitely you need a passport. Those take a couple months to get back. So if you're interested in any of these trips, you need to apply soon. Yeah. It's a good thing to have, because even just going down to Mexico for a day, you need a passport. So if we want to do, we have in the past done short-term trips down to Mexico around for Christmas time, and haven't been able to do that for a while either. Yeah. So hopefully in this next year that maybe that'll work out in this Christmas time.
Nice.
But shots, all that stuff you can find out. If you sign up for a trip, we'll give you a whole list of what shots you need and what other stuff. So.
And people, do they have to fill out like an application to?
Yeah, we'll have. Yeah, each of the ones will have an application to fill out why you want to go and.
Yeah, just to kind of get to know you a little bit. Awesome, very cool. And can you give us, is there your email address? Maybe somewhere, I know our website has some information on.
Missions. We do have I have to look back over the website and see what our mission stuff has, because I know we have some videos that I want to post up from our missionaries.
Nice.
We've gotten videos because we couldn't have people come out, so we've asked a lot of our missionaries to do videos. Yeah. But my email address is Lance. LANCE at funplaces.com.
I like that.
Yeah.
Fun place.
Fun place. You can think of missions as fun places.
Yeah. It's so good, man. Well, awesome, Lance. So thank you so much for being here
Yeah.
and for kind of unpacking everything. It's a real blessing to hear your story and see the excitement that is potentially coming for us.
So. I've never had anybody go on a mission trip that came back and said, I know we've had some who thought about being a full-time missionary and gone and realized that maybe full-time mission wasn't for them, but nobody's ever regretted going on a mission trip. It's just a great experience.
Yeah, dude. So good, man. Well, thank you very much, Lance. I appreciate it. And thank you all for listening to our Revive podcast today. Please share this episode with a friend or subscribe to our channels on YouTube. And again, like we were saying, if missions, you're kind of curious, or if you have a friend or family member who is curious, this might be the perfect episode for them to listen to. Speaking of YouTube, you can find us on YouTube at Neighborhood Church of Cypress or Neighborhood Church of Los Alamitos. You can also look up on our website, neighborhoodchurch.com/revive, where we're going to put links to all the resources that we talked about. We'll have Lance's email and probably some of those videos, hopefully, that we had of our missionaries who kind of did a little check-in and a visit. So you can find that at neighborhoodchurch.com/revive. Also, we would love to hear from you guys. You can email us at connect@neighborhoodchurch.com. That's CONNECT @neighborhoodchurch.com. Until next time, we pray that God would revive your soul.